Mike Tobin in Chicago, thank you very much. With that, we bring in Laura Ingraham, host of the Ingraham Angle. We just watched Laura, the superintendent, say that there was never a command to stand down for the Chicago Police Department. You see the evidence that is contrary to that, but this video is just incredible. What's your take on what you're seeing in Chicago, Laura?
I watched his entire presentation. And it was long, and it reminded me of something else, Martha. Remember, it depends on what the meaning of the word is from Bill Clinton.
I do.
You have listened closely to what he said. I would never tell anyone to, quote, stand down. Well, the transcript doesn't say stand down, does it? It said, we're not going to be sending anyone over there. So, I don't know if that's the game he's playing there, but the transcript does not lie, nor does the dispatch audio itself. They made a decision not to assist federal authorities. Now, they may claim, we were still processing the other scene where they had the other unrest, but they did not send manpower when it was requested. And then there's like the 38 or 41 minutes before people ended up responding to help those federal officials. But we have people's lives on the line. Okay, this is a very dangerous situation. And they made a decision not to deploy resources to assist federal authorities. And they got caught. Mm-hmm. And now they're trying to kind of, well, no, we work together. We don't collaborate, but we support one another. That was also an odd phrasing on his part. So I didn't find it compelling in the slightest. Although in some cases he did say, well, you can't box in law enforcement officers, whether they're federal, state, or local. Right. Well, that's just common sense. I mean, I don't think that was any great revelation on his part.
Yeah, he said that, if you're ramming a federal agent's car, you should expect that there's going to be ramifications for that. I think a lot of this comes from the top, right, in Chicago, in terms of the way that they are going to receive this. Here's Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, talking about this at 10 a.m. in Chicago. Watch this.
A couple of years ago, I said very candidly that the right wing in this country wants a rematch of the Civil War. I want that to sit in right now, because the President of the United States of America has declared war on the people of Chicago and people across America.
That's pretty strong stuff, Laura.
Yeah, well, what does he expect is going to come after that? I mean, he's not a stupid person. And you use words like Hitler or Stalin or Nazi, or you're declaring war on your own people, which is ludicrous. Of course, Donald Trump loves America's cities. We all know that. He loves New York, loves Chicago. He thinks they can return to their former, stellar selves. And that's what he's trying to help here. Now, you might disagree around the edges of some of the, decisions that are made. I think he's doing what needs to be done here. But that's different from saying he's declaring war, and this is a federal, quote, invasion of the city, which they also said today, Portland and Chicago. So this police superintendent is hearing it from Pritzker, the governor, and hearing it from Brandon Johnson. And no one is going to convince the average American watching this that doesn't have an effect on the superintendent, Mr. Snelling. I don't believe it for a moment.
Laura, what do you think is the ultimate impact of all of this? Because as you point out, President Trump wants to make the cities of America safer. I think you're absolutely right when you say he loves America's great cities and wants them to be restored to their greatness. Politically, socially, what's the impact of these presence of National Guard in these cities?
I think we're going to see decreases in crime. You're going to have we saw it in D.C., obviously, a little different because it's a federal city, a federal district, as you know. So they have more leeway in D.C. And longer deployments. But in the areas of the cities where federal facilities have been under siege for weeks and sometimes months, that will end. And those individuals will be prosecuted in federal court, not state court, where you have more, you tend to have more activist judges. But in federal proceedings, these individuals are playing cute with their little masks and little early Halloween get-ups. They're going to find themselves in real legal trouble. I think that's going to have a big and positive effect. And I think the Trump administration's messaging on this has to be, we love these cities. we're going to restore these cities. Unfortunately, we don't have willing partners on the other side of the aisle, which is sad, because if they did assist a little bit, Martha, or just, said, let's do this together, I think Trump is willing to sit down with anybody and say, give me your ideas. How could we maybe improve this, or what would you do? I honestly think he'd bring Pritzker in and these guys and say, tell us your ideas.
Yeah.
And they would work together. I think the Democrats are going to look really unreasonable here.
We see what's happening in Memphis, where they're just, the response is, well, we've got a lot of guns off the street, a lot of criminals off the street. That's going to make it safer for people to walk around the city of Memphis, which is their hope. And a little coordination might go a long way in these situations. But the language of Brandon Johnson saying the president of the United States has declared war on the people of Chicago and the people across America. Very dangerous indeed. Laura, thank you. It's great to see you this afternoon. We'll look forward to your show tonight.
Thank you, Martha.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much.
And staying on this issue, after yet another violent weekend, a federal judge has expanded her order barring the Trump administration from sending in the Guard to Portland, Oregon. And the White House is now pushing back.
With all due respect to that judge, I think her opinion is untethered in reality and in the law. The president is using his authority as commander-in-chief, U.S. Code 12406, which clearly states that the president has the right to call up the National Guard in cases where he deems it's appropriate. So we are appealing that decision. As you know, we expect a hearing on it pretty quickly, and we're very confident in the president's legal authority to do this.
Constitutional law attorney and former federal prosecutor Katie Cherkasky joins me now. Katie, good morning. It's great to see you. Here's Camilla Wamsley. She's Portland's ICE director on what they are facing on a day-to-day basis. Watch this.
There's something been going on every night since June. We've had bottle rockets launched at our folks in the building. We've had rocks thrown through the building. We've had all our windows broken out on the first floor. We have had lasers pointed at our officers' eyes. We have, it's a whole gamut of things.
So President Trump wants the National Guard there to put an end to all of this. Does he have the legal authority to do so?
I think he absolutely does, and I think that this judge's opinion is very vulnerable on appeal. When the president essentially nationalizes the Guard, that decision is reviewable by the courts under that particular statute, but the courts have to give extremely high deference to the president, meaning that if there's any colorable explanation, and of course we just heard from the ICE director there, then the courts cannot overturn that. And that has been established by the Ninth Circuit, where this court will go. So certainly I think that this opinion is going to be overturned.
And when you say it was established by the Ninth Circuit, are you talking about that California ruling that just happened a couple months ago, where National Guard troops were allowed to stay in California to protect the federal buildings?
That's exactly right. There was a case, it's called Newsom 2, that the Ninth Circuit discussed this very same issue. And the judge in the Portland case tries to distinguish the facts there by saying that there's not ongoing or very recent attacks, but that doesn't seem consistent with the factual record at all. So I think that for sure the administration will prevail here.
So the president also said yesterday, you just heard it, that he would invoke the Insurrection Act if necessary. What does that mean?
Well, the Insurrection Act is another basis for the president to call up the troops, not just National Guard troops. They could actually use any military troops. And then if that were to be invoked, and I think President Trump was very reasonable by saying that it would be more significant to do that. But if he were to make that decision would be even less reviewable, because the courts have said that that decision is essentially solely within the discretion of the president to use the Insurrection Act if he determines that that is necessary.
Yeah, and right now National Guard troops in Chicago and Portland, they're being mobilized under what's called Title 10, which is a narrow ruling that allows them to protect federal property, but they can't make arrests or do any sort of other law enforcement activity. We're getting a very different characterization of what federal troops would look like from some of these liberal lawmakers like J.D. Pritzker.
Well, the fear-mongering and really the minimization and denial of the actual facts of the situation on the ground is really troubling, and it's kind of stunning. And I think President Trump and the administration is exposing the absurdity of these positions. They should really be thanking them for assisting with this instead of suing him in court. So, yeah, absolutely. The president has essentially a broad discretion under both of those statutes, but really even under this particular Title 10 statute that he's using, he has the right to do so, especially when there is a basis in the facts there.
Over 100 days of protesting in Portland, and at one point they rolled out a guillotine, which says it all. Katie, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your insight.
And welcome back. President Trump is ramping up his crime crackdown. The Memphis Safe Task Force just getting started in the Bluff City with National Guard troops set to help kick criminals off the streets there. Madison Scarpino has traveled to Memphis, Tennessee. She's got more. Hi, Madison.
Hi, Dana. This city has been crime-ridden for years, and now the feds are cracking down. We have yet to see a National Guardsman patrolling these city streets, but the federal operation is very much up and running. It's called the Memphis Safe Task Force. It includes more than a dozen federal agencies like the FBI working alongside the National Guard. And yesterday, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and others were all here in Memphis showing their support.
This is long term. We are going to work hand in hand to make the most violent crime city in the country have no crime.
And the operation has already been successful. In just the first 72 hours, AG Bondi confirms the feds arrested over 90 people, seized 28 illegal guns. They found a missing child. And Bondi says this is just the beginning. As for people who live here in Memphis, the opinions are mixed. Many people are sick of the crime and welcome the National Guard, but others are hesitant.
I actually hope they can stay here for a good little minute, and I hope they can accomplish a lot because we do have a large crime rate.
It makes things look worse than what they are, because at that point I feel like families and or people are going to be targeted.
Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris is very against the National Guard being here, and he even says that he wants people to resist.
Stop thinking about the momentary drop in crime, because that pales in comparison to losing your entire country.
And Mayor Harris also tells us that he's going to look into any legal routes that he can take to stop this. Dana.
All right, Madison, keep us posted. Thank you.
Fox News alert. Violent, chaotic. This is Chicago. Another weekend of this. Federal agents were forced to fend off violent rioters who were throwing rocks at them and screaming and cursing at them. And the White House has authorized at least 300 Illinois National Guard troops to try to deal with the growing crime crisis. And just today, Illinois filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration over the deployment of help in that city. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. Outside Chicago, Broadview is the site of an illegal immigrant processing center that has been in our focus for days now. Border Patrol agents there are in danger, and they had to call in local help for a massive group of protesters which surrounded them. All of this over the weekend. Chicago police officers say their bosses ordered them to stay away. Listen to the dispatch audio here.
And again, per the chief of patrol, we have all the units that per 999, chief of patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location.
We're not sending anybody over to that location. The nation's largest police union with full-throated condemnation. The group's president said members are shocked and appalled, adding they believe that when an officer calls for assistance, you answer, no matter what. We are seeing all of this with our own eyes, but Democrats say they don't need any help from President Trump. And they're even trying to flip the switch and blame the president.
They want mayhem on the ground. They want to create the war zone so that they can send in even more troops.
It's a misuse of the National Guard. They're not needed in this particular role.
There is no emergency here in Chicago or in the state of Illinois. The only crisis that we have is the chaos that has been caused by Donald Trump and his administration.
Senior correspondent Mike Tobin is in Broadview with more on this. Mike.
And Harris, we're hearing from a lot of rank-and-file Chicago cops who say that they are outraged that they were ordered to stand down after federal agents were attacked. The communication for the stand down appears to have come from the chief of patrol himself over the communications platform with the Office of Emergency Management and Communication, reading very clearly, no units will respond to this. Multiple police sources have confirmed that that message is authentic, and it is backed up by audio of the stand-down order.
So the chief of patrol, clear everybody up. We're not responding over there.
All right, and 999, just to confirm, 39th Police in Kedzie, they were saying that they were being surrounded by that large crowd, and they were requesting the police were not sending, waving off all the cars heading to 39th Police in Kedzie.
Again, those are the orders we're being given.
Now, the official statement from Chicago Police Department reads, CPD responded to the scene to document the incident. CPD officers were also on the scene to maintain public safety and traffic control. It happened in Brighton Park. The scene was triggered when two individuals allegedly rammed a Border Patrol vehicle with their cars. Border Patrol agents shot the driver of one of the allegedly attacking vehicles. The drivers are now charged federally, but the incident triggered a riot. That's when the calls for help went out. Now, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson just moments ago dodged questions about whether that order tracks back to him, but he says he doubts the narrative of the Border Patrol agents.
They claimed it was defensive fire, but frankly, we cannot trust anything that comes out of the administration. We have a rogue, reckless group of heavily armed masked individuals roaming throughout our city that are not accountable to the people of Chicago. Their actions put all Chicagoans at risk.
And we knew this was coming, but the Illinois Attorney General has just made it official. The state of Illinois is now suing the Trump administration, claiming that the president is using American soldiers to punish his political enemies. Harris, back to you.
Mike Tobin, thank you very much. Let's go to Jono Caldwell, my first guest, Fox News political analyst. So, Jono, you were home in Chicago a couple of weeks ago. I mean, that has been your childhood and adult home. And you talked with people about this. Are the elected officials listening to the citizens?
Absolutely not, Harris. And I'll tell you, I had an event for the Caldwell Foundation for Public Safety. We had hundreds of people there, white and black almost evenly, Democrats and Republicans, all saying the same thing. They want President Trump's help. Those pleas, those begs and cries have been ignored by Brandon Johnson. They've been ignored by J.B. Pritzker. And it's no surprise the images we're seeing on our screens right now. Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker have been setting the stage for this kind of chaos for weeks. Ever since President Trump said that he wanted to go into Chicago and help clean it up, they've been setting the stage saying, hey, we got to stand up as Chicagoans and push back on them. This is what the mayor has been saying. So it is no surprise to me that they're doing this and now they're trying to hide their hands, especially with what we see with the Chicago police. How dare they? People are in need of help. Send the police officers. But you imagine why crime has been so bad, because the mayor there has been using the police department as a political pawn, not responding to calls. This is absolutely unfortunate and not what we should have in any American city, Harris.
Look, we were in that city for a couple of reasons last summer. One was the NABJ debacle, where President Trump, then candidate, visited. You were there. I was there. The other, of course, for the DNC. We have seen Chicago, much previous to this situation, unhinged. We've seen the fence lines go up to try to protect a convention-going public, and then they go down after everybody starts to leave town and everything folds back in, and there's chaos. Is the mayor at this point, based on all that we have seen up close, Giano, trying to use the cover of, protesting ICE to cover up the crime stuff that he hasn't dealt with since he's been in office?
Whatever they can use is a distraction from their failures. Keep in mind, Brandon Johnson has an approval rating of about 5%, the lowest rated mayor in the history of the city of Chicago. He has continuously failed on this issue. So whatever cover they can use, they will use. We have, as of estimates, almost 500,000 undocumented people in the state of Illinois. There's a lot of work to be done, and I want to congratulate Todd Lyons, the ICE acting director, for being so surgical with sending teams in and certainly keeping Americans informed as to what ICE is experiencing on the ground. These things matter. They very much matter. And the people of Chicago are happy to see those who came into their city and committed crime against the citizens there, to see them leave. That's what we should all want as Americans. We want safe cities. We want safe streets. We want our kids to be able to go to school without the fear of coming back in a body bag. And that's what we've seen too many times in the city of Chicago.
It seems like a singular responsibility and job for those elected officials. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem highlighted just how dangerous things have gotten for her agents. Watch together.
They're making plans to ambush them and to kill them. We have specific officers and agents that have bounties that have been put out on their heads. It's been $2,000 to kidnap them, $10,000 to kill them. They've released their pictures. They've sent them between their networks, and it's an extremely dangerous situation and unprecedented. So we've put protective detail around those individuals, changed some of our operations to keep our officers safe.
Well, thank the good Lord, they are professionals. And nothing has come to that. But it's their professionalism that we lean on, because it sounds like the elected officials don't care about their safety.
100%, Harris. And I got to tell you, knowing what we've experienced in our country as of late, 2 assassination attempts on President Trump, Charlie Kirk assassinated, the rhetoric from the left about ICE has been extreme. And my concern is the National Democratic Party and, of course, the local officials, whether they be in California, Illinois, wherever they are, they have to turn down this rhetoric. You see what she just said, $10,000 to kill an ICE agent. This is not what we stand for as Americans, and it should be condemned from the Democratic Party. But I have yet to hear that at this point, Harris.
Yeah, I'm waiting for censures to fly. I mean, they're fueling this. And look, you can call names. They're not even shy about it on the left. All right, Gianno, got to let you go. Thank you so very much for being in focus.